Welcome to the Hoja on Architecture podcast, Vernacular Architecture, Chapter 4, Economy as an Input. Of course, the climate is not the sole determinant of vernacular structures, since many forms have been developed within the limited number of climatic zones. The economy is the second input of this study and is directly related to the first one. As mentioned before, certain climates allow certain life forms, and humanity is the only one to spread across all biomes. Humans manipulate the creatures around and create economies. The standard definition of economy is organization of production and consumption of goods. However, in vernacular societies, it is mostly about food production and a small amount of tailoring or pottery. Of course, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. But as Jared Diamond told in Guns, Germs, and Steel, geographical determinism, denouncing human creativity and accepting humanity as passive robots, helplessly programmed by climate, fauna, and flora, is a misconception. All social groups survive by organizing labor, and vernacular architecture exists in all such categories, likely more prominently in small groups with basic economies and less so in developed urban ones. This study divides the economies into four categories: subsistence, nomadic, agriculture, and industry. The subsistence economy, also known as the hunter-gatherer economy, is characterized by people who do not produce food but rely on movement to the next resource station. Such cultures are now few but exist in every continent, often within the borders of sovereign countries, as depicted in the world's political map. Their architectural practices are shaped by the availability of materials around them and are designed for short-term use. Examples of this type of vernacular architecture include the Bambuti pygmy huts from Congo and the Gunya structures from Aboriginal Australia. The second economy is nomadic pastoralists, who follow specific routes with their herds. They raise cattle, camels, goat, or sheep and move between the pastures when the previous ones recover. Their architecture must adapt to this transhumant way of life. As a demountable and portable structure, a tent is one of the cleverest inventions in architectural history. Tents are of two main parts: the standalone frame made mostly of branches, and the cover made of herd animal skin, woven cloth of animal hair, felt, or even bark draped over the frame. Guy ropes and tent pegs supported some kinds. Most or all of the structural parts are loaded onto pack animals during migration. Teepee from North America, black tent from Tibet, China, and yurt from Central Asia are examples. The third type of economy is agriculture. The definition of this term is problematic since it is accepted as only horticulture or gardening. It is, in fact, cultivating plants, animals, and fungi for food and raw material production. Agriculture is a key development for a sedentary life. The main agricultural products are wheat, rice, other cereal crops, vegetables, fruits, plants, cattle, sheep, swine, and poultry like chicken, turkey, goose, and duck. Approximately 1/4 of the world's entire population, roughly 2 billion people, are farmers. In terms of vernacular architecture, in addition to residences, outbuildings like granaries, barns, byres, and mills are needed in such economies. In contrast to agricultural societies, many people dwelling near rivers, lakes, or the sea depend heavily on fishing. The last form of economy is the industry. As expected, this type represents developed societies, the urban half of the world's population. Many of the city buildings are designed by architects. However, vernacular architecture survives in many of these areas, though its continuity is threatened. Many former villagers still migrate to cities to become employees of either factories or services. However, when the existing housing stock cannot meet the waves of immigrants, cities spawn suburbs or slums which perfectly fit the definition of vernacular architecture. Famous slums include favela in Brazil and barriada in Peru. Due to their association with low income, despair, and crime, slums are often targeted by urban transformation projects, but their significant voting potential makes governments approach them cautiously. Some sources also mention forestry as an additional type of economy, placing it before the industry. This is the end of the Vernacular Architecture Chapter 4, Economy as an Input. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.